What's going on, everybody? Matt here from Chill TCG. Today we're back. We're back on the channel. I was gone for like a week or so. I apologize for that, but we're getting right back into it. Yesterday, actually, as I record this, was or 2 days ago, was the Chill Series number 29 PTCGO tournament. One of the last tournaments of our third season doing the Chill Series. It was another great event. 250 battle styles in the prize pool packs and gold quick ball, which we gave to the first place winner. Now, getting right into it. Of course, we had about 450 players in the tournament. We were sponsored by PTCGO Zone, so big shout out to them, as well as our community member, which gifted the gold quick ball. So, fantastic tournament. Thank you, everyone, for playing. And we're going to get right into it, and we're going to take a look at the deck lists for our top 16 competitors. We did a top 8 cut, but as always, top 16 gets more prizing. They get featured into the video. It's just kind of part of what we do here on the Chill TCG channel. I'm going to turn my phone notification off. Sorry about that. Jeez Louise. Okay. All right. So let's get right into it. We got Ranger Max, 1, 2, 3. He was playing the good old Pikarom from the US, went 10-4. Now, Pikarom was very successful in this tournament. I think that the meta wasn't very kind to things like Rapid Strike Urshifu, and because of that, Pikarom had a little bit more breathing room, and of course, Pikarom's a phenomenal deck, so it did really well in the tournament. This Pikarom list, here we go. We got 3 Boltons, so sometimes people are running 4, but other than that, everything in here is pretty much standard. We do have a Mew in the deck, which I do find interesting. A lot of people are just teching Mew in their decks for Rapid Strike Urshifu, but the thing is, I don't know if Pikarom really, maybe it's smart. I don't know, but definitely a hard matchup nonetheless. But I guess that Mew could help if you were to run into some Rapid Strike Urshifus. But yeah, everything here is pretty standard. One thing you'll notice is that instead of big charms these days, people are running the stealthy hoods. Your ADP matchup, it isn't typically defined by running that big charm, right? It really kind of just, relies on that early game and if you hit your hammers or not. So I think that big charm isn't necessarily 100% needed in the deck. And while the stealthy hood is there, of course, for those, for those Giratinas, those Mimikyus, things that other decks might be running to turn off your Mewtwo and Mew GX, which is going to be your primary attacking option here in the deck. But yeah, so we got 4 hammers. Now you'll notice there's no Team Yell Grunt, which people used to play in Pikarom, but we do have a Fan of Waves in here, kind of in place of that. We got 1 E-Radar, 1 Cherish Ball, 4 Quick Balls, 2 Reset Stamps in here, and 14 Energies. I don't know. A lot of people are running 13 Energies, I think. They run maybe 3 Speeds, 10 Lightning. This deck chose to run an extra Speed Energy, so they went 10-4 there on the lineup. Maybe cut a Cherish Ball, but we still have 2 Air Balloons and a Chaotic Swell in here. I think this list is really good. It's very close to sort of what the typical peak list might look like. I think that if you're running Pikarom, you might have always around the same 54, 56 cards in your deck, and you might kind of change a few things here and there. But for the most part, yeah, here it is. Our 16th place Pikarom deck. Definitely super cool. Shout out to Ranger Max, 1, 2, 3. Next up at Poke09. He's actually from Thailand, so really cool to see a Thailand representative here in the tournament. Got 15th, and this dude was playing Scorch. This was our highest placing Scorch in our tournament. And now this one's really interesting, actually, now that I take a look at it. It is kind of just, okay, so it's Scorch, but it's not Jirachi Scoop Up Net Engine Scorch. It's kind of just straight Senti, which is super interesting because we have a Mew in here, but we're not running Scoop Up Nets, which is a very interesting choice. But we have 3 Boss's Orders, 2 Research, 4 Welder, and 4 Marnie. So this deck, instead of going Jirachi and running less supporters, he's kind of just put in more supporters for consistency, and he does have the 2 Dedenne and a Crobat. 3-3 Scorch lineup. He does have the Reshizard and the 2 Volcanions as well. The 1 Mewtwo is interesting because we're not running Scoop Up Nets, but I guess it is, you can just play it down and then you have at least 1 use for it. It's not as good without Scoop Up Nets or Jirachi, but it could have use. I don't know if it's better than Eldegoss personally, but interesting to see it in the list for sure. Yeah, one other thing in here is that we're running a Giovanni's Exile, which is very interesting. So I suppose this list is kind of there to really bolster your Urshifu and your ADP matchup, because with the Giovanni's Exile, you have your Dedennes and your Crobat, which you can probably play 1 of each throughout the game, or double Dedenne as kind of consistent draw support. But you can kind of feel safe in doing that, right? Because we have a Giovanni's Exile to discard those Pokemon from your bench, which is really interesting, to be 100% honest with you. But it was pretty successful, 15th out of 250. This dude's rocking 14 Fire Energies with a Weak Guard as well, and Big Charm. So, it's just a strange list, to be 100% honest with you. But it's Scorch. Scorch is still a really good deck. It's really powerful. and the Reshizard, Volcanions, a lot of good stuff in the deck. Seems actually kind of consistent. The problem is if you're running like 4 Marnie, 2 Research, and 4 Welder, like a lot of times you're probably going to want to be drawing cards, and you're typically going to want to play Welder as often as possible, and we don't really have a super consistent way to get the Welders back, and a lot of times it feels like you might just be Marnieing and just manually attaching, but I guess that's kind of fine. So I don't know, it's interesting. 2 Pokegears in here, 4 Quick Ball, 4 Switch, 2 Pokecom, 2 Fire Crystal as well. Interesting Scorch list. I don't know if we've really seen a Senti list like this like recently, to be honest, but he's from Thailand, so I mean people play the game differently in other parts of the world, right? So definitely super cool though, and 15th as well, so definitely a pretty good player. Now as we move up, we're gonna have a lot of Mewtwo decks, so if you're someone who isn't super interested in Mewtwo, this video might be a little bit of a drag for most parts of it, but Mewtwo is extremely good, probably one of the best archetypes to be playing right now, and there's a lot of different ways you can play it. So for me, I'm going to be really interested to take a look at all the lists. Evan P here got 14th, 10-4 from the US. He was running the Psychic Mewtwo, JIT 2, some people call it, Galaxy Mewtwo, whatever you would like to call it. It's just Mewtwo here with a focus on Psychic. I think I covered a deck similar to this in the future, or in the past, honestly, but it's an extremely good list, one of my favorite lists to be playing right now. This is kind of the archetype that focuses around the Jirachi GX. That's why they're running 2 of those in the deck. This is mainly because it's so important. This deck really likes to go second in Star Search. But we do have a Latios GX in here as well for that Clear Vision GX, which is in Tag Purge even, which is going to be phenomenally good in this deck against things like ADP. We can get rid of their GX attack, we can Tag Purge, and then they can't do damage to us with their ADP. So it's a really useful card in that matchup for sure. 3 Mewtwo's, that's mainly the card we're going to want to be using to attack, so we can utilize the attacks of all the other Pokemon. We got Incineroar GX for those big one-hit KOs. Crushing Punch is also pretty good if you're needing to discard a special energy. Giratina Garchomp GX is super good. I really think that Calamitous Slash 150 for the 2 Psychic and an Aurora Energy is phenomenal on the Mewtwo. It's really good to boss up the Dedenne Take 2 prize cards, but on top of that, it does 240 if there's already damage counters on, so it goes really well with Horror Energy as well. If you have double Horror attached, ADP attacks you, you can just go ahead and Calamitous Slash for KO. So that's obviously a really good route to take for sure. Reshiram and Charizard, interesting. We really only have it in here for the Outrage attack, although if you get 3 Auroras on, I suppose you could use the Double Blaze GX or just Flare Strike, but it's mainly there for Outrage, I think. Eldegoss to get the supporters back, the Vileplume GX, 180 for 2 energies if you get full HP. Really good in the mirror matchup. You can KO other Mewtwo's for 2 energy. Really good, attacker to have in here. And then Gengar Mimikyu GX, kind of maybe the biggest secondary attacker in the deck, using Horror House GX and Poltergeist is really good in so many matchups. And of course we have Trev Noir Tag Team GX, which is going to be really good for, of course, the Night Watch, which honestly with Stamp and the 4 Marnies in your deck, you're kind of sometimes just using that as your win con. And it's won me a lot of games for sure playing this deck, so I like it a lot. 4 Marnie, 3 Boss, 3 Research. Pretty standard supporter lineup there. 1 Malolana, 1 Guzmahala, 2 Tag Calls, so all kind of consistent things in the deck here. Between the 4 Cherish Balls, 4 Quick Ball, 2 Tag Calls, you should be able to find all your Pokemon really consistently. 1 Tag Switch and 1 Reset Stamp. I kind of like to see more of those cards in the deck. I think that, Tag Switch is super good. I think that Reset Stamp in this deck is phenomenal as well. And we have 2 Stealthy Hoods, 1 Big Charm, 1 Air Balloon, so kind of like in Pikarom, except we have all 3 of those different options in here. And 4 Switch and 1 Air Balloon, so a lot of switching options. Most of your Pokemon have a retreat cost of 2, but sometimes if you get stuck in the active early game as you're starting Pokemon with Trev Noir or Giratina Garchomp or Reshiram and Charizard, that can be kind of tricky because Air Balloon isn't really a switching out, so you need to either attach an Air Balloon or find a switch. So that's always kind of difficult when that happens. But we're running 4 Aurora Energies, 4 Horror Energies, and 2 basic Psychics now. The Star Search attack with Jirachi GX, you can search for any energy in your deck, doesn't have to be a basic. So, if you attach a Horror turn 1, then you Star Search, grab a second Horror, you're kind of, just chilling. Because then you can attach an Aurora Energy after that, or search for the Aurora Energy, whatever it might be. But definitely a really cool list. A lot of people, and this is also a list where, there's a little bit of leeway in terms of the cards that you're going to want to be running in the list. But for the most part, this is a very accurate skeleton and a baseline for a deck like this. It's really phenomenal. One of the harder decks to play, in my opinion. knowing what all the cards do and how they kind of interact with all the matchups can be a little bit tricky. I do like running Greninja GX in here. I think that this deck doesn't have a clear counter to Decidueye, so Greninja GX does kind of fill that purpose. And in my opinion, things like Vileplume GX aren't as useful in the long run as something like Greninja might, especially if Decidueye is really good in the format. But interesting for sure. Shout out to Evan P. And everyone who plays Psychic Mewtwo. Next up, we have 76ers, the Willowboom GOAT. This dude's been playing Willowboom decks for as long as I can remember. And been playing very well with them for sure. 76ers here. So he's playing it's Eggrow, Mewtwo, Rillaboom, Grassbox. I don't know honestly what you call it. But it's another Mewtwo deck. Some familiar faces in here, but we are using the Rillaboom engine here, the Voltage Beat Rillaboom, to accelerate the energies. But we have 2 Eggrows and 2 Mewtwo's in the deck, so we should be in 3 Grookeys, right? So we have a 3-2-2 lineup. Should be really consistently able to go ahead and use the super growth attack, whether it's on Eggrow or Mewtwo, early in the game. If you get that Rillaboom set up on your first turn going second, you're in a really good position because turn 2, without hammers or energy removal, you might be able to just GX, or turn 3 at least, you might be able to GX, which is a phenomenal GX attack. You do 200 and shuffle all energies from their board into their deck. Can be super disruptive. There's also kind of a tanky deck in here as well because we have Calming Hurricane, which heals 30 damage, or 50. No, I think it's 30. Is it 50? Might be 50. I forget. But we have 2 Malalanas in here and 2 Big Charms, so a lot of healing, a lot of sort of extra HP added on here. We have Incineroar GX as well, again, for that one-hit KO potential, but we also have Dragonite GX for 5 energies. We can do 270, and that's colorless, so we can just put 5 grass on our Mewtwo and hit for 270, which is really good because it's not a GX attack. It's just a normal attack, so we can use it as many times as we want, even after we GX, which is really good in the deck. Eldegoss V to get the supporters back. Now, Pheromosa and Buzzwole GX tag team is super, super good. One of my favorite cards in the whole game right now. It's really, really, really good. We got, I'm trying to remember the names of it. I think it's like Jet Punch is the first one, which is 30 damage to any Pokemon, which is really, really good. Elegant Soul is 190 for 3, so that's an incredibly good 3 energy attack there, although you can only use it once, I believe, unless you switch in and out. So 190, a really good attack there. And then we also have Beast Game GX, which does 50, but if you KO a Pokemon with that attack, you take an extra prize card. So really good option against Mad Party. And a really good option in some scenarios if, of course, you can get it off and take the extra prize card. Really good. And then, of course, we still have Vileplume GX in here. We are running the Tag Call engine, so 4 Tag Call cards in here. And then we have 2 Malalanas, 2 Guzmahalas, 1 Cynthia Caitlyn, and all the tag team Pokemon that are in our deck. Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is phenomenal. Honestly, it might be one of the best Mewtwo decks. It might be the best Mewtwo deck. It just is really, really consistent. Azul went on a great run. AzulGG went on a great run with this deck as well. I think he made top 4. We'll take a look at his list. But this is a really great deck. One of my favorite decks to play. 2 Ordinary Raws, shuffle the energies back in, shuffle some Pokemon back in the deck potentially. Because, of course, we're going through energies pretty quick with this deck. 2 Chaotic Swells, Weak Guard, 2 Capture, 9 Grass. Just a really cool list. One of my favorite lists right now. And really powerful. And a lot more consistent than people might think. And most Mewtwo decks, all the Mewtwo decks typically in the format right now, really like to go second. All right, next up we have Fumikage from Brazil, 10-4. He was playing Rapid Strike Urshifu. So at 12th in the tournament, this was our highest placing Rapid Strike Urshifu. And like I said, the format wasn't very kind to Rapid Strike Urshifu with all these Mewtwo decks that we're seeing in this video. But nonetheless, it's still a phenomenal deck, and no surprise that one did go pretty far in the tournament. Everything here, pretty normal. Nothing else I can really say about Rapid Strike Urshifu. We do have a Mewtwo, Jirachi GX, and we do have a Mimikyu in there. Now, all of these Mewtwo decks are kind of running Stealthy Hood, so it might be sort of pointless, I guess, to run Mimikyu at this point. But if they aren't for whatever reason, or if you're playing Peak and they aren't, who knows? Mimikyu could be really useful, but it doesn't seem as important as it was before. 4 Research, 3 Marnie, 3 Boss. We have a Phoebe in here, which is going to help with that Luke Metal matchup. We do have Mewtwo to get it back out of the discard pile. We're running the Scoop Up Net Jirachi engine. All good stuff here. 4 Switch, 1 Escape Rope, 1 Air Balloon, 4 Scoop Up Nets. Plenty of switching options. On top of the 3 Boss, we've got a Great Catcher, 2 Martial Arts Dojos, which I think is the best stadium to be running in Urshifu. I've said it a lot. And then we have the 9 Energy. So everything in here is pretty standard. Giratina is somewhat pretty good in this list as well, but there's only so much room for Pokemon. I think that Goon is better. I think that Mew is better for the mirror as well. I think Mewtwo's necessary. I just don't know if Mimikyu is really that good anymore, since people are kind of preparing for it, and those Mewtwo's are running the Stealthy Hoods. But sometimes they just they prize them, or they don't attach. They attach maybe the Big Charm or something. So that Mimikyu can be really useful for sure. So interesting nonetheless. But yeah, Rapid Strike Urshifu. It made finals 3 consecutive weeks. This week kind of fell short, but still one of the best decks in the format. Also just won Players Cup. Shout out to Azul. Joshua S, 11th in the tournament from, what is this, Australia? Yep. I know my flags. 11-3. He was playing Victini VMAX, so I think this is like just a straight Victini. But highest placing Victini in the tournament. We did have a Mew3 Victini, but this is kind of... Okay, so it's Victory Scorch is what they call this deck. It's just a mix between Victini VMAX and Scorch VMAX. Both of them really have their upsides. Scorch VMAX, you can pile energies onto this thing and do really big damage. One-hit KO tag team Pokemon. It's also pretty good against VMAXs as well. But Victini VMAX, for only 2 energies, does one-shot any V Pokemon pretty much in the game right now, as well as doing 240 damage, 220 to VMAXs as well. So it's a really good low energy attack cost option in some matchups. So I like it, and we even have the Reshizard as well for that donk potential, just the absolute insaneness of Reshizard with 2 Volcanions. So this list is phenomenal. This is kind of emerging. It's just a straightforward welder list here. Nothing too crazy. We are running just a fan of waves in here, a reset stamp, Evo Incense. Yeah, I mean, I don't know really what else to say about it, to be 100% honest with you. It's just, yeah, it's just kind of like a welder box list, but we're running the 2 best fire type VMAXs right now, and we have a Reshi in there because Reshi's insane, and we have Volcanion as well, which is a really good start option. I like it. 4 gears, so we're running the gears engine, I guess is something to note. 3 Giant Hearths, 2 Fire Crystals, 11 Fire Energies, 3 Pokecom, 4 Quick Ball, 1 Evo Incense. I mean, it's all good stuff. It seems pretty consistent to me, and the idea sounds really good. And I know that people have been having a lot of success with this list as well, so I like it. I mean, I really do. So I mean, if you somewhat just have like a half playset of both of these cards here, then maybe this is what you go for. But interesting nonetheless. It's very interesting. This format's strange because a lot of the deck lists aren't super straightforward. They're typically like combinations of different lists. People are just kind of putting together. We saw that with Urshipult. We've seen that with some Mewtwo decks. And now we're kind of seeing it with Welder decks as well. So it's just kind of interesting for sure. Sync. Okay, at number 10 we have Sync. Funny name there, from Brazil. A lot of Brazil players. I mean, Brazil is one of the best nations for Chill Series tournaments, so they're absolutely phenomenal. But Sync, yeah, 10th in the tournament, another Psychic Mewtwo list. There's 3 more to look at. This was our 3rd highest placing one here. Okay, so this is similar to the last one that we saw, except I think if I'm trying to pick something out that's not here, what's missing, I guess is my question. There's something is missing from this list, right? We got the Vileplume, Gengar, Trevnoir, Incineroar, Garchomp, Reshiram, Charizard. We have the Greninja in here, but I don't know if he removed another Pokemon to put in the Greninja. I'm just kind of drawing a blank, to be 100% honest with you. But the Greninja's here, and like I said, this is a really good Desi tech. I mean, I don't know how common Decidueye is, but it does kind of really help with that matchup. But everything else here, similar to what we saw last time, almost exactly. To be 100% honest with you, just maybe a couple subtle differences here. 1 reset stamp, 1 tag switch. Yeah, I guess, I mean, the Greninja's in here. I don't know if he replaced something or if he took something out. Kind of hard for me to tell. But yeah, I mean, here it is. Psychic Mewtwo. I mean, again, like, this is kind of the archetype. This is what people are playing when it comes to Galaxy, Psychic, Mewtwo, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, there it is. Greninja. I personally like playing Greninja. I think you should play Greninja in the list. If you can just tech 1 card in there for even Luke Metal or Decidueye, it's going to be really good. So you might as well do it. Shout out to Sync, man. Congrats for getting top 10. Next up, we have Vitor Lugan, 9th in the tournament, also playing Psychic Mewtwo. These guys probably might have played the same exact list, also from Brazil. Let's take a look and see if their list is the same. Okay, so I think the last guy wasn't running Latios GX. I think that was the difference. Vitor here, again, playing literally the exact same list, except he has a Latios in here instead of the Greninja. I think that cutting Latios isn't as good as maybe cutting Vileplume. If I had to cut a card, I would put Greninja in here, but I would cut Vileplume personally. That's probably what I would do. But maybe that's not the right decision. That's just kind of what I'm feeling from the list like this. But everything else the same as what we saw last time, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Here it is. If you have the resources, if you have all these cards in PTCGO to build this deck, I really suggest kind of practicing with it and getting a feel for it, because it's phenomenal right now and probably one of the best picks to be playing. To be 100% honest with you, I think it's really good. So big shout out to Vitor Lugan. Congrats. Next up, we have Vispandola. I think is how you say it. Brazil, 11-4. He's playing E-Turn. So, I mean, you thought we'd go a week without E-Turn just popping up here, but you know what? It's not going to. It's here. People are still going to play it. It's still a crazy deck, crazy powerful. And this is kind of what E-turns are looking like these days. Now, this guy was running an Assault Gate Darkness Ablaze Hoopa. This card was actually bugged going into the tournament. It typically reads that 90 damage, but if you don't switch in that turn to the active spot, it doesn't do any damage. But the bug was that you could just do the 90 damage with Hoopa without actually even switching in. You could just do 90 for free for 1 energy, which is phenomenal, but technically not allowed. And I did kind of let that known to people going into the tournament, but I didn't really have any issues. People didn't really play the card incorrectly, so we kind of used the trust system to that regard. But yeah, I mean, here it is. E-turn, 4-4-4 lineup, E-turns and Crobats, 4 Goons, with 2 Yveltal, 1 Hoopa. This is just Scoop Up Net E-turn, actually, so 4 Goons, 4 Scoop Up Nets, Yveltal, Hoopa in here. We've got 4 Research, 3 Marnie, 3 Boss, and a Phoebe, which is going to really help with that Luke Metal matchup. And then we have a Pal Pad to shuffle that Phoebe and maybe a Boss back in your discard pile as well, which is going to be phenomenal. We actually have 2 Escape Ropes and 2 Switch in here, which I think is pretty cool, actually. And I like the 2 Spinners. Consistently try to get that Power Accelerator off as quickly as possible. And 1 Chaotic Swell, 4 Quick Ball, 3 Great Ball, 3 Calms, all standard stuff in here, 6 Dark, and 2 Weak Guards. So only 8 energies in this deck, which I typically like 9 in my E-turn list, maybe even 10 sometimes. 8 seems a little bit low, but this guy did pretty well with E-turn, and if people are still playing E-turn, this is something that you might want to take a look at. Interesting that it was Scoop Up Net version. I don't know if this, I mean, I guess this is actually probably the best version to play against Mewtwo decks and ADP decks, so I guess keep that in mind, right? When you don't really need to KO VMAXs that consistently, or one-hit KO VMAXs that consistently, and you're dealing with a lot of tag team Pokemon right now in this current Battle Styles format, maybe the Scoop Up Net Zigzagoon engine version is the best way to play it. So keep that in mind for sure. But yeah, shout out to Vispandola. All right, next up we have I Am Flukovo from Hong Kong. A phenomenal player, always does really well at Chill Series. 7th in the tournament, he was playing Mewtwo Victini. So this is going to be a deck that I've covered a little bit in the past. We are running 3-3 Victini VMAX lineup, 2 Eldegoss in the deck, and 4 Boss. So this deck really likes Boss's orders. But we also have, of course, Mewtwo and Mew-GX, which is going to be the other kind of attacking outlet in some matchups that you might prefer over Victini VMAX. And we have things like Heatran GX, Reshiram and Charizard GX, and Charizard GX to use their attacks through Mewtwo, right? This is really good because it gives you a really nice, a really consistent Psychic-type attacker in the deck. That does massive damage, but we also have one of the best fire-type attackers in the game right now, Victini VMAX. So really, really cool, and I like this combination. We have the Mew in here, 2 Dedenne, Crobat, all standard stuff. We just have 1 Volcanion chilling in here just in case you do start with it and you're like, let's go. So that's kind of funny. 4 Welder, 4 Boss, 2 Marnie. That's it for the supporters. We have 2 Gears in here. No Jirachi, Scoop Up Net Engine. Only 2 Escape Ropes and 1 Air Balloon. So that's it for your... Oh, no, we have 2 Switches. My bad. So 2 Switch, 2 Escape Rope, 1 Air Balloon, Stamp, Ordinary Rod, 2 Cherish Balls, 4 Quick Ball, 3 Calm. Yeah, I mean, this is another Welder version. Again, if Victini VMAX is super good, some people are playing straight Victini, some people are playing Victory Scorch, Victini Senate Scorch, some people are playing Mew 3 Welder mixed with Victini VMAX. So like I said, a lot of archetypes are kind of just combining right now in this current format. And I find that to be really interesting, honestly, because that's not typically something you saw a whole lot last format at all, and now it's just kind of the norm, which kind of odes, it opens a lot of creativity options in here, but I don't know if it's necessarily, I guess, like the best way to play decks. I honestly don't know, but this is a phenomenal list, and I've seen it in action, and I'm really impressed by it. So, Flukovo, congrats, my man. Congrats to you. Next up, we've got Gabriel Smart TCG. The guy's been on an absolute tear. One of our good friends over at Chill Series, helps us out all the time. I play Fortnite with him sometimes. He's a good dude. Placed 6th in the tournament. And from the US, 11-3-1. He was playing Peak, so our second highest placing Pikarom. There were 2 of them in top 8. We're now in top 8, by the way. And this is just Pikarom. We saw it earlier. Everything here is pretty much normal, except instead of 2 Stealthy Hoods, we're running like 2 Air Balloon, 1 Stealthy Hood, 1 Big Charm. I do like that tool card lineup. And he was running the 4 Bolton, like I said earlier, with the 13 energies, and I think that's the proper way to play Peak, personally. Everything else in here, it comes exactly the same, super standard. The 4 Crushing Hammers, 1 Fan of Waves, E-Radar, Cherish Ball. I think as long as Rapid Strike Urshifu is in check and people kind of keep that deck in line from getting out of hand, I think that Pikarom is going to still see a lot of play, and this is honestly one of the best 60s that you could be running. It's super consistent, super powerful, and things can just get out of hand, honestly, if you don't keep up the pace with Peak here. And there's a reason why it won this tournament, spoiler alert, and there's a reason why we had 2 of them in top 8, even with all the Rapid Strike Urshifus running around, which was Rapid Strike Urshifu was our tied for the most played deck this week with 61, so like 13% of the meta was Rapid Strike Urshifu. But Peak honestly doesn't even mind that matchup too much. We got 4 Hammers, we got the Big Charm, Fan of Waves, and we have 2 Mewtwo. So as long as you don't start with probably like a Pikarom or Choo-Choo, or I guess Dedenne, you're typically in a pretty good spot. In a deck like this, the math kind of works out where most of the time you're starting with Bolton, and that's kind of why I think that 4 Bolton is the correct choice right now, because you get a little bit more punished in this format not starting with Bolton than you did last format, which is why I think 4 Bolton's pretty good. But everything here, pretty normal. Most people probably have the cards to play Pikarom, and I really suggest you just play it because it's ridiculous. It's crazy, crazy good. I mean, that deck won Players' Cup too, and it was good way before that as well, so it's just been around for so long. Next up, we have Dangerous Rogue here playing ADP, and he's from Great Britain. Now, I'm super I'm super excited to look at this ADP list. This ADP list is really cool. It's really silly, but it's really cool at the same time, and he did get like 5th in the tournament playing this ADP list. So, I mean, all the Pokemon lineup's pretty normal for ADP, except we have an Oranguru in here, and we do not have Eldegoss. And we have a Goon, and we have a Mew. So, I mean, some things are a little bit unorthodox, and we have a 2-2 Dedenne Crobat lineup. But yeah, the Zigzagoon is interesting. We're not running Rusted Sword or Vitality Band, but we're running a Goon, which is just an interesting choice nonetheless. And the Mew, of course, also interesting. ADP doesn't typically play Mew, but I mean, every deck right now seems to be playing it, so like, why not? It's definitely not bad, especially if you do hit those Urshifus often. And then 1 Mawile, but the Oranguru in here, man, it's your like main draw engine kind of, because we have 4 Rotom phones, and that's kind of the consistency engine that we're using to consistently find things like E-Switch or Spinner or Tool Scrapper, things that you might need really like importantly in the deck to get that GX attack off early, or to get boss's orders off when you need it. And you'll see some people are kind of running like Skyla or like 3 Dedennes, and that's kind of a similar effect where you really just want to consistently draw cards, move through your deck, and find the specific cards that you need at that time. Rotom Phone Oranguru is just a super interesting way to do that, because again, I think you look at like the top 5 cards of your deck, put one on the top of your deck, and then Oranguru, you put that into your hand. So it's just kind of an interesting way to play the deck. But everything else in here kind of normal. Tool Scrapper I think is pretty funny. 2 Air Balloons, 2 Escape Rope, 1 Switch. So not a whole lot of switching options in this deck either. And then 4 Boss, 4 Research, 1 Marnie. And then we have a 9-3 energy lineup, so an extra like metal energy here thrown in here as well. 2 Cherish Balls, 4 Quick Balls. It's strange, right? You may look at it and be like, this is not how you should be playing ADP, but I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. This guy went on a phenomenal run, and I think that ADP is so strong that people don't often take a lot of liberties with their ADP lists, but I think that there's a lot more room for them to do that. And it's cool that somebody actually did it and did well this past 450 player tournament. So big shout out to Dangerous Rogue. All right, next up, we've got AzulGG, the Players' Cup 3 champion. I went on an absolute tear in Chill Series here. I'm just going to show you guys his run real quick. This dude lost his first game of the tournament, won 3 straight, and then he lost one here to Blounce, and then ended up tying against Orbeetle. So not a phenomenal first, 6 games here, right? He was like 3-2-1, right? That was his record in his first 6 games. Proceeded to go on a 9 game win streak with Willowboom, Eggrow, Mewtwo. So, I mean, he's a great player. I mean, again, this was almost exactly the same as the list that we saw before. I know that when I was watching his stream, he mentioned that he accidentally submitted a list and then edited it and wanted to change a few things, but didn't really have the chance to. Maybe, so this wasn't his original or his final decision going into the tournament, but it ended up being what he wanted to play. But I mean, it's really cool. I mean, this is very similar to the last list that we saw, Mewtwo Eggrow, except he's running a 2-2-2 lineup instead of 3 Grookis, which I don't know if that's good or bad or not. I haven't really tested a whole lot, but interesting nonetheless, because Grookis does seem like a really interesting card to cut from the deck, since it's really important to start with so early in the game, right? But one Wonder Lab in the deck is kind of strange as well, but I think it's actually kind of cool, since a lot of times you're going to be piling energies on Mewtwo and you really only need 3 to get damage off. So it's actually kind of a cool, interesting option. Kind of might make it more difficult for you to use Sky Judgment or Elegant Soul or things like that. But for the most part, with Rillaboom, it should be pretty easy to accelerate a lot of energies after your first or second turn, right? So I kind of like that Wonder Lab in here. But yeah, everything else is pretty normal. Azul's a really good player, so like sometimes he'll play kind of funny decks, or he'll play a couple like cards in his deck that typically somebody wouldn't, but still does really well, and that's because he's a great player. So sometimes it do be like that, but I think that this is a really cool list, and I think that Wonderlab has some usefulness as well. Yeah, I mean, interesting. I would like to hear from Azul and just kind of, I'm curious, like, if he had to run the exact, like, what exact 60 he would have ran, what would it have looked like? But nonetheless, I mean, got top 4 out of 450 with this list. So big shout out to Azul. Definitely cool to see. Let's go to standings back. All right. Now on to our final 3. Now we have Leandro for Fernandez from Brazil, 13-3. He got 3rd in the tournament, so made top 4 with Azul here. And he was playing Psychic Mewtwo yet again. So we're going to take a look at it. It's literally the exact same list as the last one that we saw. I wonder if these guys actually tested together and kind of chose to run the same 60. But here it is. Again, it's good. I like it. I mean, I really like it. It's probably one of my favorite decks to play right now. It's just really fun. It kind of keeps your brain moving. It keeps the juices flowing, I mean, I don't know if that's kind of a weird saying, but it's fun. It's a cool list, and I like it. And it's just kind of what I play most of the time right now. But I'm sure that'll change. But anyway, yeah, here it is. We're just going to appreciate it for a minute. Okay. All right, moving on. Big shout out to Leandro, my dude. Congrats. Top 4 in the tournament, 3rd. All right, now on to our final 2 competitors. Before we get into it, guys, I want to let you guys know that the grand finals match between Andrew Hedrick and Adam Calumet here, ADP versus Pikarom, the grand finals match from the 450-player Chill Series tournament, has been posted as a video on my YouTube channel. I posted it yesterday. So if you're watching this now and you haven't seen the grand finals match, I highly recommend that you go check it out. You get to see sort of both of these deck lists in action and kind of see how they play. And see some high-level play with them. But Andrew Hedrick, the ADP did come in 2nd, so spoiler alert if you're watching that video, but, I mean, it's not really a spoiler alert. But this was his ADP list, a lot more traditional, than the last ADP list that we saw. Not a whole lot of crazy stuff going in here. We got 4 Zacian, 3 Dedenne, 2 ADP, Crobat, Eldegoss, Mawile. Very standard Pokemon lineup here. 4 Research, 4 Boss, 1 Marnie. Very standard supporter lineup here. 4 Cherish Ball, 4 Saucers, 4 E-Switch, 4 Quick Ball, 2 Spinner, 2 Escape Rope, 2 Switch. Very standard item lineup here with a great catcher. Then we have 2 Air Balloons and 1 Rusted Sword. Again, just standard. It's really good. It's tested. It's tried. It's proven. I mean, no disrespect to Andrew. He's just playing like the very well-accepted ADP list, right? And he's a great player. So, I mean, I think most people decided to play lists like this, and he got 2nd in the tournament. So obviously, it's a really strong list. 2 Chaotic Swells, and then he's got the 8-3 Energy lineup. ADP is really good right now in the format. I don't think it's won anything substantial recently, though. Like, since Battle Styles came out, it's seen a lot of top 8, top 16s, top 4s, finals appearances, but I don't think it's really won that often. ADP is a deck that just, it never seems to get the job done, honestly, but it always seems to do relatively well. And that's kind of just my opinion on the deck. Similar to Pikarom in that sense, except Pikarom does seem to just win sometimes, where ADP just doesn't seem to win a lot of times, which I don't know what to make of that. But interesting nonetheless that ADP did make it to finals this week for the first time since Battle Styles came out, but took the L to peak. Shout out to Andrew Hedrick. Great player. I mean, phenomenal player. Great list. If you're looking to play ADP, I recommend this exact 60. I don't know personally right now what in the format right now what I would change about this deck. It has everything. I like the 4 E-Switch. I like the 2 Spinners. I like the 2 Rope, 2 Switch, 2 Air Balloon. I like that. I like the 4 Cherish Ball, 4 Quick Ball. I mean, I like it. I think everything in here is good. And I think that for me right now, this is what we should be playing if you're playing ADP. That's my opinion. I don't know, though. Maybe I'm just saying that because Andrew got 2nd with it, but who knows. All right. And then, of course, we have Adam Calumet at number 1 from Canada, 14-3, won the tournament, won the Gold Quick Ball, playing Pikachu and Zekrom. We're not going to take a look at his list, though. We're not going to go ahead and take a look at it because I will be doing a separate video where I'm going to be covering Adam's list. So I apologize. But again, if you guys want to go look at it, it's up here on the tournament page on limitless.com. Yeah, we're going to get out of here now. It's been 35 minutes. I talked too long. If you guys sit here through this whole video and listen to me talk, man, I mean, thank you. But That's honestly kind of crazy to me, and I try to keep these as brief as possible, but hopefully they're educational. And every week, if you watch these top 16 videos, you should get a pretty good idea of what people are playing in some of these bigger tournaments and what's doing well. So I hope that it was at least somewhat constructive to you. But I guess before we go, let's take a look at some decks that perhaps, you know, we don't get a lot of shine, I guess. Here's a Golurk deck. He went 0-3 and dropped, but you know, we might as well take a look at this this hero, this absolute hero right now playing Golurk. Yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. I mean, legendary stuff here. Yeah, okay. So there's that Golurk deck. Any other cool decks that we can take a look at before we leave? We have a Primate. We have an Alcremie. We could take a look at Alcremie. I guess that's an option. Oh, this one's, yeah, here. Let's take a look at Delmise. This guy went 4-5, actually. Itchy Attacker. Let's take, I mean, come on. I mean, Delmise is one of my favorite cards right now, to be honest with you. Here it is. Look at that. What do you think? What do you think of Delmise VMAX? With Rose. He's running the Rose engine with Willowboom. Lots of energy acceleration. Yeah, there you go. Okay, anyway, we are going to leave now. So thank you everybody for watching. I've been Matty from Chill TCG. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and don't forget to register for Chill Series tournaments. The last chance qualifier for Season 3 is coming up this Wednesday. It's our last tournament of the season before the Invitational. If you're trying to make the Invitational tournament, this is your last chance. And if you're trying to just play in a Chill Series, this probably isn't your last chance, but it's your last chance of the season, at least, if that means something. So definitely go try and play. It's on Wednesday. I don't have a link to it yet, but I will probably tomorrow. So there you go. I don't know why I'm still talking. I really don't know what I do at the end of these videos. We're at 36 minutes. Okay, goodbye. We're getting out of here. Shout out to PTCGO Zone. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe. Like the video. Comment below. What deck was your favorite? All right, we're leaving. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.